One of my really interesting takeaways from the SoFi conference call last week was that Anthony Noto talked a lot about cryptocurrency and the blockchain. In fact, he mentioned cryptocurrencies once, but he mentioned the blockchain 3 different times in the conference call. I want to go through why I think that's important and why this could potentially position SoFi to be one of the leading companies. Now, we know that companies like Coinbase and Robinhood are really leaders in the blockchain, not only trading cryptocurrencies, but also looking at how can they incorporate the blockchain into their businesses, how can they move money or make payments more efficient. That's really, I think, the future of the blockchain technology. But now SoFi could be entering that race, potentially giving it a leg up on some of its bigger rivals. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. Let's go to the first quote where he mentions the cryptocurrencies. He says, in the first quarter, also marked our best quarter ever of member engagement, and even compared to when we offered cryptocurrencies or launched IPOs or alternative assets. So Anthony Noto is saying, you know what? Crypto brought a bunch of attention to SoFi back during the pandemic when we launched it as an asset class. But what's potentially more important? A little later, he puts this quote out there. And I'm going to go through the whole thing because I think it's all important. And by the end of this year, if all goes as planned, we will add both level 1 options in certain crypto or blockchain offerings. Given the evolving regulatory landscape, we see an opportunity to re-enter crypto and blockchain business more comprehensively. In addition to enabling members to invest in crypto coins, we will enter other areas over the next 6 to 24 months, but potentially much sooner via acquisition or a changing regulatory landscape allows. Our aspirations over time are as broad and as deep as they are for our existing SoFi business, including developing crypto and blockchain offerings across borrowing, investing, paying, saving, and our technology platform services for third parties. There is a lot going on in that one quote, but I think we can read between the lines that blockchain technology is ultimately what Noto and SoFi is really interested in. Go to that last piece. Blockchain offerings across borrowing, investing, paying, saving, and our technology platform services. So let's go through those one by one. Borrowing is going to be borrowing against an asset class or an asset that you know that you own. So maybe that's going to be more efficient ways to take out a mortgage. Maybe it's going to be borrowing against an investment asset or cryptocurrency assets that you already have on the blockchain. That could potentially be more efficient using the blockchain by taking out some of the intermediary steps that are typically done with pencil and paper today, the underwriting process that we have today. That's a lot of the borrowing that's happening on the blockchain today. That may be for YOLO trading today, but in the future, we're going to be using these for much more common sorts of trading and borrowing like you see with SoFi right now. Investing is another piece. A lot of companies have talked about this. Coinbase has talked about this. Robinhood has talked about this. Can you tokenize assets? Maybe you tokenize debt. I think that's an obvious place to start this because debt is not quite as liquid, not quite as big a market, not as much trading there as you have with equities. So if you're looking for a specific piece of debt on a company, let's say you're looking for a long-term high yield piece of debt or a convertible debt, that may not be owned by a whole lot of people. So an investment bank is where you would go and you would say, hey, you know what? I'm looking to buy this specific piece of debt. What do you want me to pay for it? And they would have to go out and find a potential seller for that piece of debt. You could move some of those things and that trading to the blockchain and always have a liquid market in many more securities than we currently have on the NASDAQ or NYSE. Paying is another area. Coinbase has been working on this. Circle has been working on this. They're the one that runs the USDC token. That's where I think you're going to see a lot of stable coins. We have seen Stripe move into the stablecoin business. It is very, very likely, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years that we are going to see the disaggregation of a lot of the credit card fees that we know today. If you take credit cards as a business, you're going to pay 2.5% to 3% as a credit card fee. Some of that fee goes to the credit card company themselves, the Visas, MasterCards of the world. Some of that fee goes to the underwriting bank, and some of the fee goes to the payment processor, so Stripe or Square. But the fees when added together are very, very high, and they don't really need to be that way. When Stripe acquired a company in the stablecoin space, they started allowing payments in USDC tokens. Their fee went from 2.9% for credit cards to 1.5% for USDC payments. That's because you're just moving money from one point to another on the blockchain. There's no real intermediaries there. It's a much more efficient system, and the 1.5 fee is basically replacing the 1% of the 3%. So basically a third of the fee that Stripe typically gets for credit card transactions. So Stripe is probably making more money on those USDC transactions, despite the fact that whoever the merchant is, the company that's actually getting the money, is paying half the fee. So it's really good for everyone involved at this point. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Stablecoin transactions are increasing in velocity a lot, and we're talking about billions, even trillions of dollars changing hands, really in big numbers. Robinhood has started to use this to move money from point A to point B, like from outside the US to back into the US. But there's a lot of innovations that could happen on the payment side. Savings is going to be another thing. Could you generate more yield on the blockchain? Maybe there's different blockchain offerings that opens up more solutions than just a typical savings offering that's being offered today. And the technology platform side is where SoFi could take their infrastructure on the technology business and then spread it to multiple companies. The technology platform business is really where they're white labeling a lot of banking technologies and services for other companies. So they're doing credit cards or debit cards or savings accounts. That could be the same thing with payment services or other blockchain services, where now maybe it looks like I'm taking a payment from a specific retailer, but that's sort of a white labeled solution from SoFi. Those are the kinds of things that I think SoFi is ultimately thinking about. So this isn't necessarily a cryptocurrency or blockchain company in the way that Coinbase is, but I do think it is very analogous to a company like Robinhood. Both of them are kind of on the bleeding edge of using blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies for more utilitarian services. Sure, they maybe want trading revenue, but the real disruption in the financial ecosystem is because the blockchain could potentially be a more efficient way to operate a lot of these businesses, like trading, borrowing, investing, payment solutions. And SoFi getting into that, I think, is them getting out in front of a whole lot of potential competition, and before a lot of its big bank competitors get there. So I think this is actually really exciting news for SoFi. Didn't get a lot of attention in the first quarter conference call, but the fact that Anthony Noto mentioned crypto and blockchain multiple times, I think is really notable. Something we want to keep an eye on over the next 6 to 24 months, as he says. But let me know what you think about SoFi potentially becoming a crypto and blockchain company. Still sounds a little bit odd, but I think a lot of this may happen in the background, maybe good for everybody involved. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.